As the movie begins, we find ourselves in the sunny coastal town of Santa Cruz. A girl named Piper is riding a bicycle and trying to find a house whose address is written on her palm. The heroine stares intently at house 465, but only passes by. Piper notices an ad looking for a job at a diner. Tracer, the owner of the establishment, agrees to hire the strange girl, and Jen supports his decision. Tish, on the other hand, is clearly unhappy with the new girl, but after a brief conversation she also votes in favor. Piper replies evasively that it was some family thing that brought her to Santa Cruz. Tracer, Jen and Tish, as well as the diner's customers, vote for the heroine to work for them. Driving past a familiar house again, the heroine sees a car pull into the yard. Out of it comes a man with a little girl. The next day, a guy named Priestley comes to the coffee shop. He is visibly nervous, seeing Tish flirting with another visitor, and gets acquainted with the heroine. Piper reveals that she has only recently worked here. Tish pretends to be an innocent girl who does not experience the pleasure of night games and thus disposes to the guy. Priestley criticizes such methods of achievement, considering manipulation a dirty and low occupation. But Tish believes that men allow themselves to be taken advantage of, and it is not her fault. Meanwhile, Tracer notices a woman named Zoe and looks at her lovingly. Before the place closes, Jen gets a message. The girl is in active correspondence with Fuzzy 22 and smiles as she stares at the screen. Rechecking the bills, Tracer condescendingly watches this, realizing what Jen is experiencing. The next day, Piper spots Tish, who is returning from her lover. The night with him turns out to be rather mediocre and does not impress the girl. Priestley criticizes Tish again, believing that she is wasting her time with such actions. Tracer asks Piper to paint one of the walls of the establishment. Zoe enters the diner and gives the man his mail, which was mistakenly delivered to the wrong place. The woman is an esotericist and keeps a store across the street. She immediately guesses Piper's name and speculates that Jen's internet friend is a very nice person who adds a freshness to everything. After work, the heroine decides to relax on the beach. Jen confesses that she is not afraid of Fuzzy 22 because she feels comfortable with him. It turns out that they have been communicating for a year and have never seen each other. Jen marvels that the heroine draws so beautifully and says she's definitely going to have a talented child. Piper admits with a sigh that she already has one. The heroine was 15 years old when she found out she was going to be a mother. Her mother forced Piper to give the girl to foster parents Noah and Lisa. The heroine's daughter was named Julia. Lisa promised to send pictures, but 2 years later she disappeared somewhere. Piper lost her daughter, but recently in the newspaper saw a note about a talented girl, Julia. Despite Jen's skepticism, Piper is sure she's found her daughter because her father's name is Noah. That's why she's come to Santa Cruz. At work, Jen gives a poor guy a treat, who gives her a rock and a coin in lieu of payment. Tracer is convinced that by helping people like this, he becomes a much better person. Tish charms the visitor again and arranges to meet him in the evening. Priestley begins to criticize such an act, but the girl asks to leave her alone. Tracer teases Tish, believing that she is like a log in bed. The angry girl offers to go and check it out, but then realizes that the boss just decided to fool her. Tish thinks everyone is unfairly biased against her. Piper notices Julia and Noah again and decides to go after them. At the beach, the girl wants to draw a rock and the heroine starts sketching Julia. Suddenly Julia loses her drawing, but it is saved by Piper. In addition, the heroine gives the girl some advice on depicting rocks. Noah is impressed by Piper's work and strikes up a conversation with her. The heroine introduces herself as Anna and gives up the drawing with a heavy heart so as not to arouse suspicion. Meanwhile, Priestley and Tracer are fixing the latter's van. The vehicle instantly starts up as soon as Zoe glances at it. Two seductive guys show up at the diner and Tish starts her game again. Jen starts to get confused with the orders, but Tish comes to her rescue. It turns out that Jen's absent-mindedness is due to Fuzzy 22's offer to meet. Piper and Priestley are worried about the girl, as she can hardly stand up for herself. Two handsome guys who have already charmed Tish reappear at the diner. They give their names, Ted and Brad, and come to pick up another order. Priestley makes up a funny poem, believing that the guys are actually interested in each other. Sitting in the library, Piper sees her daughter and Noah again. Meanwhile, Jen continues to correspond with Fuzzy 22 and enjoys the conversation. Julia asks the heroine to be her art tutor. Piper gladly accepts the offer. Julia also becomes delighted and hugs the heroine. Ted comes for Tish, but behaves rather aloofly with her. Priestley notices that this is what conquers the girl. The next morning, Tish excitedly comes to work and says that she has fallen in love. Piper tells her that she is spending more and more time with Julia. Jen makes a decision about Fuzzy 22, for she is ready to meet him despite her fears and worries. Tish and the heroine decide to escort the girl to make sure she will be okay. Priestley goes to the store to buy feminine hygiene products. He is assisted in his selection by Tish. Priestley is ridiculed for his appearance and purchases, but he skillfully twists the situation in his favor and defeats the offenders. Soon Tish sees Ted again. At Noah's request, the heroine spends the evening with Julia and takes her to bed. The man offers Piper to have dinner together with lasagna, which she has prepared. During dinner, the heroine asks about Noah's wife and the atmosphere collapses. Piper realizes that she touched on a painful topic and decides to leave. Soon Noah calls the girl at work. Jen and Priestley try to overhear their conversation. Tish and Piper help the girlfriend become more experienced before meeting Fuzzy 22. Tish has a fight with Tad over Brad, but quickly apologizes. Noah is going to go to an amusement park with his daughter and suggests that Piper join them. The heroes have a wonderful time with each other. Noah wants to spend more time with the heroine, and she happily agrees as she likes the man. Piper puts only one condition, because first she needs to confess something. The next day Zoe visits the diner again, gives Tracer an amulet for the car and the girls some herbs for a safe journey. Jen and her companions enjoy the journey and the views. In the evening, the girls stop at the beach. Jen is visibly nervous as her friends help her clean up. Tish suspects that Fuzzy 22 is scary, but the others think it's normal and what matters is love. Piper suggests seeing the guy first before deciding whether or not to approach him. The landmark that Fuzzy 22 left for Jen is a white rose. At the bar, the girls start looking around at all the tables. Piper notices a young, good-looking guy who is visibly nervous and looking around. A white rose lies in front of him. To her friend's surprise, Jen runs out of the bar almost immediately. She explains that Fuzzy 22 is clearly not dreaming about her and will be disappointed to see her. The girl is sure that hotties like Tish and Piper can't understand her. Jen realizes that she has a lot of virtues, but people won't see them because they pay attention to appearances. Piper tries to change her friend's mind, saying that there was a lot of hope in Fuzzy 22's eyes. However, Jen argues again, saying that she will just be a disappointment to a guy. Piper and Tish feel sorry for the crying girl who had her dreams of love shattered. Jen makes the decision not to return to the bar, and the next day they drive back to Santa Cruz. A happy Tracer meets them at the diner, but he realizes from the girls' faces that it didn't go well. A man hugs a crying Jen, understanding her without words. At work, Piper continues to comfort the girl while Tish explains to Priestley what happened last night. The guy is angry, thinking Jen is afraid of being judged on her looks, even though she herself did the exact same thing to Fuzzy 22. Priestley comes out and tells Tish that Jen herself judges a person by convention, not because of what they have inside. The girl realizes that Priestley is not only talking about Fuzzy 22, but also herself. In the evening, the boyfriend suggests Jen leave early and wants to close the cafe himself. Priestley hears notifications on the computer and sees that the girl is ignoring Fuzzy 22. The guy observes this and an unusual idea pops into his head. Meanwhile, Tish spends another fiery night with Tad. Suddenly, Brad enters their bedroom. Tish protests his joining them. Tad criticizes her for this and pushes her, from which the girl hits her head hard against the nightstand. The next day, Tish lies that she hurt herself while rollerblading. Priestley doesn't believe it and gives the girl a hard look. Piper comes to visit Noah and offers to talk. However, before the heroine begins to tell about her important news, the man also decides to share something. It turns out that when Julia was 5 months old, her mother tried to take her life and herself. Noah forgave his spouse and continued to live with her. But after a couple more years, she hurt Julia again. Then Noah couldn't take it anymore, filed for divorce and got custody of the child. The man mentions that he forgave the first incident because he thought postpartum depression was to blame. Piper interjects since she was sure Julia was her daughter who was taken from her. But Noah reiterates that the baby is his. The heroine cries, blurts out that she thought she found her daughter, and also admits that her name is not Anna. At home, Piper continues to sob, feeling like she's lost her baby again. In the evening, Tad stops by the diner to pick up his girlfriend. Tracer lets Tish leave early, but asks her to be careful about rollerblading. Outside, the girl decides to break up with Tad because of what happened the night before. Tish is sure that Brad and Tad are a great couple and they only need the girl for cover. The girl calls him gay again and gets slapped. Suddenly, Priestley pounces on Tad, but he doesn't have much luck. Tracer emerges from the diner and takes down Tish's abuser with incredible skill. Priestley is sure that now the boss is obliged to tell them about his past. It turns out that in high school Tracer was the head boy and captain of the soccer team. After school, the man was in Vietnam and already then became a hippie. Tracer asks Tish not to date bad guys and decides to confess his past to Zoe. In the morning, Piper talks to Noah and confesses everything to him. Tracer finally explains himself to Zoe and they become a couple. Noah forgives Piper and allows her to become part of the family. Fuzzy 22 shows up at the diner dressed as a homeless man, tells Jen she's beautiful, and takes off the mask. It turns out their meeting was set up by Priestley. The next day, the guy changes his image and asks Tish out on a date. The newly engaged couple arrive at the beach, where Trucker and Zoe get married. Piper adds this to her painting. This is the end of the movie. Thank you all for watching this video to the end. Give this video a like. Write in the comments what you think about this movie, and see you in new videos.